Hi, everybody. I have a story to read to you. I've missed reading stories with you. This book is a book that we got in our Scholastic box right before spring break. I know we didn't have a chance to check out what we got. This is one of the books. When I went back to the classroom, I brought them home. It's called 10 Things I Can Do to Help My World, and it is by Melanie Walsh. And I picked this book because next week it's going to be Earth Day. So that's pretty exciting. I really like Earth Day. It's a special day where we celebrate our awesome planet and we try to think about ways we can make it better and how we take care of the planet. So this little book has lots of cool ideas for how we can help the planet and make sure that everything stays healthy so that it's nice for us and for the animals and plants here. So, 10 Things I Can Do to Help My World by Melanie Walsh. I remember to turn off the light when I leave the room. Turning off lights and using more efficient light bulbs saves valuable energy. You can check the light bulbs in your house. It's pretty cool. Some light bulbs use more energy than other light bulbs. I try to turn off the tap when I brush my teeth. Every time you do this, you save 18 glasses of water. Wow, I didn't know that. That's pretty cool. So when you're brushing your teeth, you should turn the water off while you're brushing because you put water on your toothbrush first and then you don't need it while you're brushing your teeth and then you just turn it back on when you're ready to rinse your toothbrush. It saves a lot of water because that water's not all going down the drain while you're just brushing your teeth. This is something we know a little bit about, throw my trash away. Putting garbage away keeps the world safe and clean. We know that. I know that when we used to take walks over to the park and the pond there, it was kind of nice. Sometimes we could pick up some of the garbage and take it back to put in the garbage can in the classroom. I will, that beautiful art with the birds. Feed the birds in the winter. Feeding the birds helps them get ready for nesting in the spring. We know lots about this, kindergartners. We know that birds need food over the winter so that they can stay, big and warm so that when spring comes, they're ready to nest. I use both sides of the paper. If everybody did this, it would greatly reduce the number of trees we use to make paper. Did you know that? That paper is actually from trees. Machines cut the trees up really, really fine, and they make it into paper, and then we use that for our books and for our crafts. So that's why we've talked about this in the classroom. Trying not to waste the paper, using both sides, and trying to only use 1 or 2 pieces instead of maybe 10 pieces, because we don't want more trees to get cut down. I remind my parents, to unplug the TV when we are not watching it. Many electrical appliances use energy even when they're turned off. That's an interesting one. And I have to admit, I'm not very good at this one. I try to, but sometimes we forget. So it's important to try to remember that when you're not using something, if it's still plugged in, it's still using energy. So to actually take the plug out of the wall, ask your parents or your family or a grown-up to take the plug out of the wall when you're not using it so that it stops using energy, especially if it's something you only use sometimes. I try to unplug things like my coffee maker. And before we went on spring break, me and Mrs. Waddington went and unplugged everything in the classroom. We unplugged the doorbell alarm, the coffee maker, the projector we unplugged, the CD player, and our lamps. Everything was unplugged so that our classroom wasn't using any energy over spring break because we're not there. I enjoy, I think this one was made for some of the people in our class. Making toys from things around the house. So using things from the recycling to make things. We can reuse lots of things before we throw them away. So true, we know that, right? We bring in lots of different recycling into the classroom, and then other people can make things with it, especially cardboard. And you probably have quite a bit of cardboard at home. Maybe there are some things you can make. I like, oh, you know what? That kind of looks like Mrs. Waddington's car. To walk to school. Avoiding car trips saves gas and cuts down on air pollution. Walking is also good exercise. I know that a lot of people in our class walk to school or walk home from school. It's nice to get some fresh air. I like it. And sometimes I walk home from the school too, because I don't live too far away, and it's nice. It feels good, and it's nice to know that we're not putting all that, when cars are running, they make pollution. So it's like dirt in the air, and that's not good for us. That's not good. So walking helps get rid of the pollution in the air. I can... what's going on here? Plant seeds and help them grow. Plants help keep the air clean and healthy. I know that in our classroom we had lots of plants, and plants do keep our air clean. They do something called filtering our air, and they give us oxygen. Oxygen is what we breathe in. And so all those plants in our classroom help the air in our classroom be really clean and good for our bodies when we're breathing. So we love having plants. Check it out when you go outside. How many plants can you find? Do you have plants in your house? I would love to see some pictures. I have all of our classroom plants at home with me, and they are doing so good. They're so healthy, and it's nice for me. I love seeing them, and it makes me feel happy, and it's good to know that they're helping our earth by keeping the air clean. I help. This might be something you guys can be doing right now. Sort the recycling. It says, more than half of our garbage can be recycled. I didn't know that. That's a lot. It takes much less energy to recycle something than to replace it with something new. So recycling, we can take things like cans and plastic and paper, and actually they go to a big factory and they make it into something else. So they would break it apart, and then they could use the metal from the cans or the plastic from water bottles to make new things. They make things like benches in parks and plastic bags. And where we live, we also have compost, because all of our food, things like food and plants, they don't need to go in the garbage because they can actually break down. Remember we talked about this with pumpkins? They can decompose. So if they go with the garbage, they go to a landfill. And we talked about those too before. Do you remember that? Maybe your families can tell you more about what a landfill is. But we don't need food to go there. Our food can go to the compost, and they can actually use it to make more energy to do things like power our homes with electricity so that we have lights at home and internet. They can use compost to do that. We're really lucky to live somewhere where we have that technology where they can take our compost and turn it into other things. But even without factories for compost, compost helps plants grow. So when I was a kid, my family had a big compost bin in the backyard where we would go put things like eggshells, banana peels, and they would go in the dirt, and the worms and bugs would break it all apart and eat what they wanted, and then the rest would turn into compost. And we would also put things like when we rake up leaves, that goes in the compost. And then all of that, once it gets broken down, it's like dirt. But if you put that in your vegetable garden or by your flowers, it will help them grow because it has all the nutrients from our food. Plants need nutrients and vitamins just like we do, and we get nutrients and vitamins from our food, And we don't eat the banana peel, but the banana peel still has a lot of nutrients in it. So when it gets broken down into compost, it's really good for the plants, which is really cool. And we do that at school and at home. We have green bins, compost bins, organic bins, whatever you call them, or yard waste bins for your grass when you mow the lawn, or your leaves when you rake the yard. So we have that here in Surrey where we live, and that's really cool. And then it says, all because I love my world. The end. What a neat book. I really like that. It gives us lots of ideas, and it's a good reminder about what we can do. And those are easy things to do, right? And like I said, we already do a lot of them. We already try to use both sides of the paper. We unplug things in the classroom, and we have lots of plants to help keep the air clean. So I want you to think about, this is a little challenge for you, think about other ways you and your family help the world. So we know 10. Can we think of more altogether? I bet we can. So let's think about that. While you're at home, talk with your family and think about what other ways do we take care of the earth? And then you can send me an email, let me know. Maybe we can make a list of things Division 37 can do to help the world. Okay? Bye, kindergartners.